What's up, people? So I had a was watching some videos, and of course, the whole thing of Trump talking about the Panama Canal and also about Greenland and things. So I want to talk a little bit about Greenland. Excuse me. I want to talk a little bit about Greenland because watching a few videos of American YouTubers and journalists and things like that, they continually are asking the people of Greenland, what if Trump buys Greenland? What do you think about that? Most of them are like, you can't buy Greenland. This is funny to me. Now, and here's the thing, obviously the more tact and gentlemanly thing to do in this time frame is that you do purchase countries. You absolutely purchase them in one way or another. It may not be with actual money, but it may be with transfer of power, with documentation, and so on and so forth. The funny thing about Greenland and interviewing all these Greenlanders is that all of them are like, you can't buy us, you can't pay us enough money to become U.S. citizens, and so on and so forth. But the running theme here, of which is a mutual understanding, is that Greenland isn't an independent nation. It's not an independent country. It's owned by Denmark. So, unfortunately, and the ironic thing here is you don't really actually have a say of whether or not you don't want to be a part of any nation. It could be China, it could be Russia, it could be anybody coming in on your front door, and you could protest as much as you want, but you are not a complete independent nation. All someone has to do is go to Denmark and say, let's work out a deal. And the keys to Greenland get tossed to whoever makes the best deal. And so, yes, in that regard, it is purchasable. Absolutely. Absolutely, Greenland is purchasable. It's not up to Greenlanders to do this. Now, I understand why Greenlanders in general just don't want to even deal with it, and they really, really want their independence. Completely understand this. They want to work autonomously, they want to do their own thing, but they've also, the few individuals who I think know more about their situation than others do, they understand that they are receiving aid and financial aid from Denmark in order to continue to function, because they themselves and their economy cannot work, they cannot function without some sort of outside assistance. They probably can, let's be real, they probably can, but it would take so much of an undertaking and reformation of their current system that it has a high likelihood of failing. And so that's why they've never become a sovereign or independent nation or country, and this makes sense. So, and I also understand that whenever you look at a foreign entity overtaking you, of course it's going to be negative, and it's also going to have a pessimistic view to it. It's understandable, because when we watch the things such as the United States, which can't even fucking take care of itself, how the fuck are you going to take care of another country? Yeah. So these things, because the United States is put under a fine microscope and the entire world watches what the United States is doing, it definitely creates a lot of reservation of whether or not it's going to be a good thing or not. And it's good to have a pessimistic view. Absolutely. It's good to have a pessimistic view of any nation trying to incorporate itself into some sort of way with your own country. But I also believe that the United States, despite its shortcomings, does treat foreign entities a lot better than itself, at least as of late, through the 2020 through 2024. Clearly, we have treated Ukraine with way more admiration and things than probably what we should have done. And of course, the complete disregard of assisting our own people with our own crisis and circumstances has really left a bad taste in the American people's mouth, of which is why we have Donald Trump again. And this is by all means no problem. Absolutely, this is just what happens when you fuck up so much that no one trusts the government system, no one trusts that anybody, even Donald Trump himself, doesn't really have the best intentions for the American people. But Trump is our answer because there is no one else. There hasn't been anybody else, one, to step up to the plate, two, that has the mega amount of money to stand against the political norm, and ultimately be able to achieve even the most insane claims, but actually able to do it. I mean, the executive orders that have been signed recently are fucking mint. And the people love it because it gives them hope that there is going to be a ginormous U-turn in the American system to where now the American people will be feeling as they're being taken care of and that things are actually going the way that they're supposed to be going, that they should have been going a long, long time ago. But going back to Greenland, a couple things could happen, right? One, let's just say there's a lot of branches to this road that we can go on. One of the branches is that the United States reaches out to Denmark, of which, like I said, the Greenlanders have no say in anything that happens between the United States and Denmark. So, if Greenland does not receive an independency between now and then, whenever Trump decides to talk to Denmark, if it gets bought, it gets bought, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And it is what it is, and those people are going to be just have to deal with the other roads that we're going to talk about. If a deal doesn't get made, I'm going to be honest, and this might be my bias as being an American citizen. I wouldn't want Russia or China, and not really anybody else, making a deal that gets accepted by Denmark. I don't, and again, this is my own biases, right? I don't fully understand China. I don't fully understand Russia, but I have to look at the political side of things and how those countries are ran. And they're ran, in my opinion, in a totalitarian state, meaning whatever's said by the government, it won't get done. All right, that's what gonna happen. And you can't protest against it, and you're probably, I mean, it's done, right? That's just my personal opinion and viewpoint of the other countries. It's just, I feel like they are more totalitarian, and just simply, if the citizens don't do what they're told to do, there are major consequences. You can argue that happens in America as well, but you have to do some pretty extreme shit in order to find yourself in a jail cell in America. Example, just to help out the people out there with saying, oh, well, they do that here in America. Unless you're throwing Molotov cocktails and being a menace to society, you probably are never going to have an issue. You might run into a little paperwork problem here or there, but it's a quick phone call and we're fucking done with it. Unfortunately, for those in China, well, do we need to look at COVID videos where they were welding bars to people's windows so you were not allowed to leave your house? And they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do it. They weren't protesting. They weren't doing nothing. They just were living. And China said, fuck you. We're going to do what we want. So, if I had the choice of a country owning me, I would probably like the United States. I would say that the United States has, even if it's not in my best interest, at least I will be able to function as a normal citizen for the most part. Now, getting down to these other roads and things. So, and why I also believe that the United States is a good candidate, if there were to be anybody to purchase or territorialized the Greenland area, is that usually, as with the Panama Canal, the United States is a business. It's a huge business. They make deals. They make things. Maybe it's in their best favor. Sure, that's the whole point of business. You want to win at doing business transactions and things. So when the Panama Canal was formed and all this stuff, and just like as Trump said, it was a gift at the end of the day to Panama, but there were stipulations, and those stipulations, unfortunately, were not met, and that's why we're going back and taking it. You don't abuse the gift. You don't look the gift horse in the mouth, per se. We built this thing to make your country prosperous, so we're going to take it back. But we're going to digress from the Panama Canal, just making the point that if the United States does acquire Greenland, it's going to be in one of two ways. The first way that I think is actually going to be the case is going to be a territorialization of a section of Greenland. What this is going to do, so it's kind of like the Dominican Republic or something like that. I think the best one to use example is North and South Korea. There couldn't be a better example of a difference in territory than you have Korea and you have a North and South Korea, and they are way different than each other. But they're the same people, same inhabitants, stuff like that. They just ran completely different. I believe that's what will happen with Greenland. There will be a North and South Greenland, or a whatever section that the United States wishes to take, part of the deal with Denmark. They will most certainly rename that something like the UAG or something, United Area of Greenland or whatever, or United States Territory Greenland, something, right? It's going to be something. And so what this does for Greenland is a lot of things, really good things too. So the United States gets their section, their little play yard, and that's it. That's all they can do. They can't expand anywhere near that. And so the current populace of Greenland and an agreed upon section, so a line, a border, if you will be posted up. And so what will happen is Greenland will probably get their independence. I mean, this is not a bad thing. This is what they want. This is all these videos I hear about Greenlanders like, we want to be independent, we want to be independent, we want to... It may very well take the United States purchasing Greenland in order for you to get your independence. Absolutely. Because, obviously, Denmark's not going to do anything for you. And you can't reach independence without aid of some sort at this point in time. You might be able to, but clearly not right now. And so if the United States purchases part of Greenland that Greenlanders don't even use or anything like that, or is very sparse in population, with maybe a very generous payment to those to relocate into the, I would say, main part of Greenland, if that's ever the case. People do get paid to move. It's not like it's a force out, not back in, this is another thing people think about, is like all this like wild, wild west days where, America comes in and kills all the Indians and stuff. That's not at all what it is. It is a business transaction. And when the business transaction is done, those that are affected due to the business transaction are very well rewarded. It may be a little bit of a heartache or a problem, whatever the case may be, because of sentimental value, stuff like that. But in the business world, that doesn't matter. But what does matter is humanitarian aid. So you are being forced from your home, sure, but you're going to get a big gob of money, and you're going to be able to keep going. And you're going to be well off than someone else that didn't have to move. Just how it goes. So, and with this procuration of the United States into Greenland, well, now you're going to get goods. You're going to have access to things for way less money. Way, way less. All this stuff, all these crazy, outrageous costs that cost to run Greenland are going to go way down, because the United States is going to have resources available for those people, and so on and so forth, of which, If you bring the cost down of living in Greenland, guess what will happen? You will be able to have a self-sustained economy from which then you can claim your full independence. Now, granted, you probably will get your full independence with stipulations from the United States. Again, it's a business deal. So now you are locked with the United States, and then maybe at some point in time you can either work out a deal or negotiate terms or purchase back, Greenland or whatever. These things are open to you if the United States is involved. Can't say the same when it comes to China or Russia or really anybody else. You probably will never receive your independency. You will never receive aid. You will probably be taken over. Your main little island and where most of your residents are now going to be considered Chinese, citizens or Russian citizens. You're never going to have the full rights of an actual citizen, though, because you're not Russian or Chinese. And you're going to be treated very poorly. They're going to build factories and military bases everywhere. Your local people are probably going to be told that you're going to be forced into the military, that you are absolutely going to have to fight for China, fight for Russia, in order for you to have your independent comrade. These are very realistic things that China and Russia will do. It's not even a question. They will do it. They will force the Greenlanders into these servitude roles, and they can't say shit about it. You can leave Greenland, but where are you going to go? Probably the United States. Probably the United States is where you're going to go. Maybe you go to Europe. Maybe you go to Canada. I mean, there are welcoming arms and hands in the world. But do you want to go through that? If your country is even remotely on the table for potential purchasing, annexing, grabbing, conquering, whatever words you want to use, like I said, I would rather have the United States do it than any other country, because at the very least you have a chance at becoming independent. You have a chance of getting a little bit of that wealth from the United States. You have a chance. That's the end all be all of the day. You have a chance. You do not have a chance with any other form or any other country. So to any Greenlanders that might see this very obscure video, start being more mindful about the United States being interested in you, because it actually might lead to your independence, your true independence, to be called a true country of your own without any stipulations and stuff. Are you going to have stipulations in your early years of your dependencies? Yes, obviously you will, because it is a business deal. America is about business. But in those businesses, it's like saying something about, like a common trend here, at least in the south of North America in the United States, is we mark a person by their word. If you keep your word, you're a trustworthy person, and people do business with you. So you're going to have to trust that the American government will keep their word, and whatever deal gets struck, and that Greenland and its people will have the opportunity to become free. And as far as an independent nation, you're obviously free. You're always going to be free. You can do whatever the hell you want. So that's what I'm really thinking is going to happen. Is the United States is going to take control of a chunk of Greenland. It's going to be heavily militarized. That's going to be the only people that are actually going to be there for the longest part is just military. That's it. There's not going to be any residential other than maybe military families. This is going to be a base life, all right? Military base life. But for tourism and actual other things that you can do, like, going to certain places in the Bahamas or going to other U.S. territories and stuff like that without a passport because, the U.S. owns it, whatever the case may be. That won't happen until security is, like, absolute. Like, you're not going to get fucked with by China or Russia, and you don't have to have all these potential dangers involved in the early processes of this territorialization. So But down the road, if it's successful and the United States does get their territory, it could be. And as we all know, tourism is a huge moneymaker. And now the best part about this for Greenland is that any natural citizens of Greenland can go into the U.S. Territory so long as they have proof of citizenship, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure once it becomes demilitarized, meaning that it's not primarily just for military, it's also for tourism or actual residential living. Who knows? It might actually be a part where people could move to Greenland and live there. Once it gets to that point, Greenlanders can just go, but people of the United States or other foreign embassy or whatever the case may be, they will have to have the necessary documentation to even go across the border to Greenland. This already happens in every other places in the world. You have to have your passport in order to even get across another border, even if it's a U.S. territory and then right next door is something else. Well, you can't go to the something else without the passport. So that's my primary thought process on how Greenland is going to go down. The second one is highly unlikely, just because it really does remove that sense of independency from the people, which is just an entire, what is the word? Occupation. There it is. An entire occupation of Greenland, meaning that the United States has free will to move about the entirety of Greenland unimpeded, no questions asked. Welcome the United States troops as they reach your shores. Can it happen? Sure. Obviously, it can happen. And I would say, like I said, that's the worst case scenario for Greenland as far as if the United States gets involved. And that's still not a bad thing because you're going to have more infrastructure. What's basically going to happen is what I just told all of you Greenlanders what's going to happen. It just happens 5 to 10x faster, though. Because once the military establishes its bases in the core of Greenland, and of course, Greenlanders are not U.S. citizens. They don't have to be. They don't have to have a dual citizenship, although I'm sure that will be offered. But what's going to happen is your economy is going to go, whoo, your manufacturing, whoo, everything is going to change very quickly, and it's going to be rough. Because as we experience in the United States and most other places that received this colonization or this occupation, those people are very stressed to begin with because they're not used to so much modernization and so much manufacturing and so much stuff going on all at once. Like, it's a very harsh growing pain. But once the people start to see that it's a good thing, meaning that their economy is booming, you're getting stuff in and people have jobs. Everyone's got jobs. There isn't a single, it's like 0% unemployment. People are learning, they're going to school. And people that wouldn't even have a thought about becoming an engineer tech or something like that, something that Greenland has never had before. Brand new jobs with brand new skills and learning and technology. Greenlanders will warm up to it. It will happen. And again, it's all in the context that you will have your independency. The United States, this might be a little off my knowledge here, but to my knowledge, hasn't really done anything, especially in recent history. If we go back hundreds of years, sure, yeah, the United States has done this as far as they haven't taken away people's rights to just basic human needs or just simply put, like, you get to be your person. In this current time frame of the United States, when the United States occupies something, the citizens get to continue to do what the citizens want to do. Right? Right. The same is not said, and I have to preface this because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are like, no, the United States, oh, they're so terrible. Blah, 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 blah. You haven't been occupied by Russia or China, have you? You haven't been occupied by a country that will absolutely put your people into servitude. Do not complain about the United States occupying your territory, because you will, in the end all be all of things, get to continue to live your life normally. You might see a thing or two here. You might have to deal with a thing or two here. It is life. Life is unfair. It will happen. But at least you'll get to go out fishing. You'll get to do your snowmobiling. You'll get to do whatever the hell Greenland does, because I'll be honest, I don't fucking know what those people do. You'll get to continue to do it. There might be some stipulations here or there, especially like as far as I could see a problem with fishing. And I'm sure Greenland is huge for fishing. I'm just making an assumption. You have the whole entire fucking Arctic Circle and Atlantic Ocean at your disposal. Like, I'm sure fishing is a huge industry for Greenland. But once the U.S. Navy is involved, you will not be able to reach certain areas that you probably were able to before. Your fishing spot has been taken by the U.S. government. Again, though, you get to still go fishing. China or Russia gets involved. Sorry, comrade, you're not fishing any longer in these waters. These waters are Mother Russia only. Same with China. You will not be fishing, and anything you do fishing goes to the Chinese government. That, again, you got to think about these things. And unfortunately, Greenland hasn't had to think about this. I don't think Greenland has ever had to think about these things before when it comes to territorial occupation or whatever the case may be. And so now you got to start getting yourself up. You got to start looking on your smartphone, connecting to greenlandinternet.com, and start figuring out what these countries are, who they are, and how they conduct themselves during occupations. After you start learning about these other countries and what they typically do in the modern age now, don't look about what happened 100 plus years ago, because things have changed. Some things not. But look at how these countries treat occupied places, and you will say, bring in the United States, please. Dear God, bring in the United States. Because again, Greenland, you don't have a choice in this. You are not independent. Denmark is going to seal your fate. So I would be begging and pleading with Denmark, saying, if you make a fucking deal, it better be the U.S. At the end of the day, though, it is what it is. So you better hope that the United States makes a great deal with Greenland, with Denmark for Greenland. I really do believe that it will be a territorial thing. So the United States is going to section off a part of Greenland. It's going to be completely militarized. No one's going to be allowed in or out except for authorized personnel. And then as time proceeds, who the fuck knows, 10, 20 years from now, it will have an economy. It will have all sorts of crazy, awesome, good stuff. And it's going to be like Hawaii. That's what happened with Hawaii. The United States said, we need this for our naval base, created naval bases. The economy with Hawaii went through the roof, and it's, of course, a tourist destination, and look what's going on there. And of course, I've never been to Hawaii, so I couldn't tell you actually how it is for those daily citizens there. Look up some YouTube videos. Here's some research for you, Greenland. Look up how Hawaii is doing and how Hawaiians feel about, the U.S. being there and so on and so forth. And that will give you a realistic idea of how to expect things when the United States comes knocking. That being said, though, do yourself also the service and look up places that are occupied by China and ask how they're doing. And also occupied Russia places. I mean, well, we already kind of see what's happening with that, with Ukraine and Russia. Russia wants Ukraine. Ukraine said no. Russia said, hold my vodka, comrade. Watch this. Do you really want that for Greenland? No. No, you don't. You don't want these hyper, extreme, militarized countries that want to indoctrinate your people, and if they don't get your people, they may try to take it by force. And if I recall correctly, Greenland really doesn't have a military. You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in the U.S. economy. No one will fuck with you if the United States is involved. So I think Greenland is just a little undereducated with this. I think that they need to seriously start doing their research, especially the youth of Greenland. Start doing your research, and that way, because again, you don't have a choice. But you may have a choice if you are able to get to your government and start telling your government of Greenland to persuade Denmark, if the United States comes knocking, to do a deal. Do the deal, because again, if Russia or China gets a hold of you, you're done. Sorry. You will never receive your independency. And if you try to secede, it will be considered an act of treason, an act of war, an insurgency, whatever. They'll label it whatever, and they will destroy you. That's how all these things happen with these other countries. It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, because I feel like in 2025 now, we should have progressed much further. But unfortunately, greed and totalitarianism and power, unfortunately, it doesn't like. It's not like dogs where you can breed it out of a dog, a trait that you don't like in a dog, and you just breed them and they get, okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't do that here. It just stays. It's in the system until you have a reasonable individual who can come to power and change everything. That's why we're fortunate to have a presidential system in the United States where 4 to 8 years we get somebody new that either hopefully will maintain a good system or make it better. Unfortunately, as we have seen, we can get people in the office and running our country into the ground. Happens. Okay, but we can fix it. See, we can fix it. We can fix these things, but you can't fix China and you can't fix Russia, not until their leaders die. But they already have someone. You could hope that they're better, but most likely they're going to be just the same, if not worse. Well, going to the Panama Canal, that's an easy one. Just give the fucker back. You won't have any problems. Just give it back. And it should be very simple. It should be very simple. As soon as the U.S. Navy is down there, it's and that's the thing too, just like what Trump said. Can you even imagine something that the United States has owned, given as a gift to Panama, but charges the U.S. Navy extra money to just use the canal? That's where you done fucked up. It's where you done fucked up. You need to be charging China and everything. Now, I don't know about China using it, but it wouldn't be far-fetched that China has their hand in the Panama Canal after it was given over, because I'm sure, as China is also they're also a business kind of country, but not really. Their business is how fast and how cheap. How fast, how cheap. Whereas the United States is more so like how much and how well. How much and how well does this do for me? China's more like, how fast can this get fucking done and how cheap can I do it? That's your two different business strategies in the world right now. Russia, they just drink a bunch of vodka and say, we'll make it fucking work somehow. We'll make it work. So I don't know, comrade. We'll make it work somehow. Russia. But yes, the Panama Canal should be pretty easy. It should just be simple, like we're just taking it back. Shouldn't be any conflict of interest. Shouldn't be anything. We're taking it back. And they shouldn't be surprised if no money's involved. It should be just simply, we're here to take back the Panama Canal. Here's my paperwork and everything. there you go. And if you do not allow this to happen, then it won't be a war because there wouldn't need to be one. The country would be bled dry through money. And this is how Trump, and this might be a little off topic, but this is how Trump conducts wars. It's so good. The man is brilliant in this aspect. He is such a true businessman. He will bleed you dry with money. And money is the most powerful weapon. Absolutely. No artillery, no space satellite with laser beams, nothing can ever fix greed. And if you can destroy a country by bleeding it dry, you've won the war. You can't feed your citizens. You can't feed yourself. You can't even buy a bullet. You're nothing. So what are you going to do? You're going to accept the terms. That's why the tariffs are such a big thing. That's why a lot of these things that people think are so awful, but it's actually a clean war is what it is. It's a very clean war. Nobody has to die. No one goes to war over this stuff. It's all a war on finances. And if you can make a financially tight system where your country comes ahead and all other countries are going to be lagging behind, you will win every single war because there will not be a war. You can't afford it. Trump has even said this in his campaigns and stuff where he said, Iran, the whole reason why Israel happened is because Iran became rich again, because they had money again. They could finance their war machines and they could fire missiles and they could build weapons of mass destruction and so on and so forth. Makes fucking sense. If you got money, you can build shit. But, well, once you take that money away, you can't build shit. So, Trump is going to wage his war of finances. He's going to be very successful with it. It should bring prosperity to the United States and people. And as far as what this means for Greenland, is that during the terms of service and while Trump is in office and the United States acquires Greenland in one way, shape, or form or another, it will be a prosperous time for Greenland. And it has the opportunity to be a truly independent and free country, of which by the time the occupation, maybe it ends. Maybe the occupation with the United States ends. Maybe Greenland makes a deal, because again, you got to think about this stuff. The United States is a business. You have to make deals. If you don't come up to the table with good negotiation and something in it for the United States, you will never be rid of the United States. This is the primary reason why I said that's why if there was any country that occupies my country, I would pick the United States because I have a chance to get the fuck out of it. China and Russia and all them will not give you this opportunity. It's done. You're Chinese now. Welcome to China. Egg roll? That's it. That's all you got. You can't barter your way out of it. You can't negotiate out of it. You can't beg and plead for humanitarian aid. You won't get a bunch of fucking blue-haired, pink-haired motherfuckers going to Greenland to say, "You have rights, Greenland. Greenland needs to have their sovereignty." You won't get that with China or Russia. I mean, at least you got the left-head weirdos that are going to be like, "Yeah, for Greenland, for Greenland." You'll have a support structure of some sort, even if it's not the best. But digressing to get to the point and to the actual fact. The United States gets some territory, or possibly the entirety of Greenland, but they only occupy it. They're not going to take it from you. And then once that occupation is concluded, or if Greenland wants to make a deal with the United States, so be it. Make the deal. Figure it out. And you will all be much better off. So, that being all said, that was my 2 cents on the whole thing of Greenland and the Panama Canal. Panama Canal, like I said, oh my God. It's going to be so fun. I want to see that shit live. Who else wants to see that shit live on TV? I want to see President Trump fucking huge naval presence. I mean, I'm talking aircraft carriers, destroyers and battleships just right off the Panama on both sides. And Trump saying, so we got a deal? That's what I thought. Okay, go ahead and sign the paperwork here. It's gonna be here. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be the best that you've ever had. You still get to operate as Panama. You still get to do the things. But not like this anymore. It's gonna be ours now. It's gonna be ours, okay? Oh, the best 4 years in American history is about to unfold. Also the fact, another little side note here, the Gulf of America. Oh, Trump is actually is 100% telling the truth that this is going to be the golden age of America, because we are going to occupy probably half of the fucking world, and it's going to be so good. It's going to be great, as he puts it. The fact that we can rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Purity. Pure. It's just pure. Oh, man. I can't wait to watch all of this happen. More videos to come, I'm sure. But, yeah, that's the Greenland and Panama thing. Let's all stay tuned, everybody. Take care.